Well, Whoops.
There we go. Now you're good.
Well, good evening, everyone. And it's nice to see you, although there are a number of names of folks I don't know. So just a point of clarification, this is both the Candidate Support Committee who has organized this, and then this is also open to the public generally. Is that correct? Just wanted to be clear who the audience was.
Oh, good point. Our mailing list is to our Marion County Dems mailing list, our PCPs, our neighborhood leaders, and people are welcome to forward it to their Democratic friends and neighbors.
Great, thank you so much.
Now that's not to say that I necessarily know every name on the list, so we'll keep an eye on that though.
No, much appreciated. It's not, there's no secrets. I just want to be sure that you know, I know to whom I'm speaking and give the adequate information. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but want to, because some of you I've known for the 3 times that I've run for this seat. So thank you for your support from day one. Well, just to back up for those whom I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, I'm Deb Patterson, and I'm really honored to serve as state senator in Senate District 10. Let me tell you about the district. Currently, at the moment, the district I'm serving includes South and West Salem, and it comes up as far south to Vista, about where Roth's Vista is, and that street across, and includes Four Corners, part of unincorporated East Salem, and it also includes Turner and Almsville, Monmouth, and Independence. However, with redistricting, it's changing a little bit. And how it will be configured after the swearing in of whoever is elected to all of their seats in January. It will consist of, again, West Salem is unchanged, Monmouth and Independence unchanged, South Salem's unchanged except a bit is added. It goes all the way up now to State Street. So in other words, instead of stopping at Roth's Vista, now it stops at just past Willamette University. Still includes
Deb, if you want, I can throw up a map real quick if you like. Would that be good to do this?
Sure, that'd be great.
Do this real quick.
It includes Four Corners as well still, and it there we go. Yeah, and Turner Nomsville now has moved into House District 17, and some folks who were in South Salem will be in that district as well. So anyway, as you know, that was a long involved process, but there we are. So that's where we're at right now. So anyway, thanks to the Marion County Dems Candidate Committee for hosting this tonight. My background is that I'm ordained clergy in the Congregational Church. I've been ordained for just over 30 years, but I've worked most of that time in healthcare advocacy, about 2 decades. I am a mom to 2 young adults, and I'm a caregiver. My husband has deep roots in the Salem area. His mom went to Salem High School when there was just one high school, and my husband teaches at Willamette University. I've served inner city churches also, and suburban churches, small town churches, and country churches. So that's been an interesting part of my career. Educationally, my preparation is I hold degrees both in a bachelor, master's in music, a master's and a doctorate in ministry, and a master of health administration from Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis. My healthcare really is my passion, holistic healthcare and access to affordable quality healthcare for all, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Professionally, I've worked beyond the ministry positions I mentioned. I've worked on the senior management team of a multi-hospital health system with about 100 physician practices, and nursing care facility and nursing school. So that's, you'll know in a moment why that was important background for me. I was vice president of a children's health philanthropy that worked on the social determinants of health, was one of the founders of that foundation. And I ran an international health organization which partnered with 15,000 community-based registered nurses around the world. When I started, we were in 6 countries, and 10 years later, we were in 23 countries on 5 continents. And in 2012, I was invited to present that model about modeled for our work at the White House, which was really a wonderful honor. I started as a student chaplain during the early days of the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s, but have spent my career working for access to affordable healthcare where everyone's treated equally and with dignity, and for the things that lead to safe and strong and thriving communities. I've served on numerous boards over the years in healthcare and housing and human services, and I've been appointed to several governmental boards, from chairing the Marion County Health Advisory Board to serving on the Oregon Disabilities Commission. And you can find a list of all of the boards that I've served on, the governmental boards I've served on my website, which is debpattersonor.org. In the last 2 years, I've served as chair of the Senate Healthcare Committee, taking on big pharma and fighting for both patients and healthcare providers during a global pandemic. I've also served on the housing, natural resource and wildfire recovery, and Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness committees in the Senate. In my first 2 years of office, I was able to bring more than $35 million to our district for housing, public transportation, educational opportunities, infrastructure, and small business support. And I believe that I have the right experience needed to continue to work for an Oregon that works for everyone. If reelected, I will build on the work that I began 2 years ago to make healthcare more accessible and affordable for all. I'm very excited to hear the report of the Task Force on Universal Healthcare. And I will continue to stand up to big pharma on drug costs here in Oregon. Senate Bill 844, as I've mentioned to many of you before, was one of my first bills that I brought to the Senate, and it created a pharmaceutical drug affordability review board, which big pharma spent $2 million trying to kill. But it passed, and that board is now in place. And on Thursday at 8:30 in the morning, our Senate Healthcare Committee is having an informational. We'll be hearing from them at an interim report. Their first full report is not due until a few months down the road, since they just got started. But it's really exciting to know that we can make progress there. I am the only candidate in this race who is interested in protecting reproductive choice. And I'm going to work to continue to grow the healthcare workforce for hospitals and long-term care. We have a part of our informational this Thursday is on capacity. The ambulances are waiting outside the ERs, waiting to get patients in. The ERs are waiting to get patients moved into the hospital beds. The hospital beds are waiting to get people moved into the nursing homes or the psychiatric units, where there just aren't enough beds available and staff to staff those beds. And even today I was talking with the Midwifery Council, and they're saying usually if you have a home birth, you have a hospital that you've selected where you would go in case there was a complication that needed to be attended to in a hospital. But now they have to go, sometimes a patient is diverted 6 or 7 times before you can find a hospital that's willing to accept someone. So you certainly don't want to be having a woman in distress going around ambulances. The midwives are calling around like mad trying to find a place to go. So it is a serious issue. And I'm really proud to say that I've voted in support of the $200 million investment in Future Ready Oregon to help grow the workforce in every field, including in mental health and physical health services, and as well as a $470 million investment in growing mental health services. Bernie, I don't know how I'm doing on time. I forgot to set a timer.
No, you're doing fine. You're just over 10 minutes. If you're getting close to the end of this, we'll go to
Well,
Q&A.
I'll just stop right now for Q&A. I can wrap up afterwards in my closing statement.
Okay, that sounds great. Aileen, since you already brought up, your hand's already up, so I'll go with Aileen first. You'll have to unmute.
Okay, I try to ask every person we interview this. Anyway, this relates to land use, and there is a big push right now by land developers to open up farmland for huge business complexes like Intel and for housing developments. Do you plan to support those efforts, or do you plan to uphold Oregon's current land use laws as well as you can?
Yeah, thanks, Eileen. And you, Aileen, you and I have talked about this before, and I am committed to protecting Oregon's land use laws. We have, and I honestly think they can be improved to make them stronger. I don't know that we all need to have 5 acres around a big McMansion. So I think we have land to build houses that are right-sized, that's already available within the urban growth boundaries. I really am concerned that we only have so much farmland. We have to protect that farmland. They're not making any more of it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? I've got one of my own, but are there any others? I don't see any hands up. Raise
I
your hand.
see there's one from Bill Dalton in the chat.
Oh, okay, great. I'll
You
go
know-
ahead. What do you see as paths to increased bipartisanship as we get into the 2023 session? And thanks for all you do. Smiling Bill Dalton.
Well, thank you. Those of you who heard me speak over the weekend at another event heard me say, and Representative Evans will also say this, because it's you can do the math as if you go on the Oregon Legislative Information System, you can see that most of our bills, about 95% of them, all but 40 out of the 2,000 bills that were passed in the 2021 long session, had some bipartisan support. And a whole lot of them had a lot of bipartisan support, just not just 1 or 2 people crossing the aisle. There were only 40 bills that didn't have any bipartisan support at all. So most of the time we're working together, truly. It's those 40 bills that get all the press, just, and so that's where, and everybody makes a statement on the floor and lots of bluster, but at the end of the day, we still have to work together here in Oregon. So frankly, I honestly think we still do have a lot of bipartisanship here in Oregon. I will say, and I'm only speaking for the Senate now, not the House, that we will not have any choice but to be more bipartisan going forward, since we have so many seats that are so they're open right now, clear. And so it is possible we will not return to the Senate with 18 Democrats. Very, very possible. So all of us are, well, not all of us. Some folks are so in such safe seats that they're both the Democratic and the Republican nominee. I mean, there literally are at least 2 Democrats who've gotten both the Republican and the Democratic nomination up in Portland, because there aren't any Republicans there in their particular district. So, we have to work together. And the issues are too big. Climate change, we've got to work together. Water, there's only so much we have of it. Land, as Aileen pointed out, these are issues we've got to work together on. So I'm glad to know we are working together. And I think that, like it or not, we're going to have to get even better at it. I think, Bernie, are you on mute?
God, it was really a profound question too. No, I was just saying, with the severity of the droughts and the threat of fires, what do you think is the best way we can, use our resources to help kind of start to develop more resiliency in a way that can get bipartisan support? How do we get there?
Well, I think the forest accord that was passed recently was a wonderful example of how that worked out together. They worked on it for years. It wasn't just a quick let's hammer something out and you like it or leave it, right? The stakeholders with very, very different points of view sat down together for years and years and developed relationships, talked to each other, listened to each other. Everybody compromised a little bit, and they came out with a plan that is workable for everybody. And so in these pressing issues like this, we don't have a choice but to do that moving forward. So the governor's race is going to be really key to answering that question too, because depending on who the governor is, that they're setting the tone for 4 years ahead, and 4 years in this climate, I would say crisis, but emergency maybe, situation at the very least, but 4 years is a very long time, and we have so not only for the races that you're hearing from tonight and tomorrow night, but I don't know if you're going to be hearing the governor's candidates as well, but folks have really got to step up to the plate and make sure that a governor who really cares about these issues is elected. I'm publicly endorsing Tina Kotek.
Good, for sure. Another question from the chat from Tina Turner Morfitt is, what steps can be taken to stabilize the cost of housing?
Right. Well, before I got there in there was a bill passed to stabilize rent. However, nobody at that time foresaw a global pandemic with the labor shortages and the supply chain issues, and the CEOs, by the way, taking double increase. Their pay is increasing twice as fast as inflation, as the rate of inflation. So there are many different, and the energy companies are making record profits. So there are many factors playing into this inflation, but it does mean that when you have that the consumer price index on top of the rent control level, it's high this year. 14.5% is untenable. It's untenable for people. So something clearly has to be done, and I'm looking forward to conversations on the housing committee ASAP to get to deal with that. One of the things we can look at are as Aileen mentioned, land use. Do we all really want to be building? Right now, the incentives are to build a really big house and sell it for a lot of money, right? So there are models out there. The rent to own model, I think, is really exciting. Canada just invested billions into that. There are co-ops, the ownership of manufactured home parks by the people who have their manufactured homes there. There's a lot of different ideas out there. Representative Fahey has been working hard at this, as has Rep. Nathanson, Senator Jama, and I look forward to being in on that conversation as well.
Very cool. Well, we've certainly been innovative with healthcare over the years. I mean, all the things that have happened over the Kitzhaber era and all the waivers we've gotten. So it'd be nice if we can kind of break some ground in some of these other really troubling, challenging areas too.
Absolutely. But it is a global issue, not just Oregon's issue. I was reading today of, a 1-bedroom apartment in a larger metropolitan area, 1-bedroom apartment selling for $820,000 as a condo. So,
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. Mary Ann.
Hi, Deb. It's good to be with you this evening.
Marianne, you too.
And I'm going to tag into the edge of this housing issue here. There was a piece I saw the other day on Morning Joe that had Frank Luntz on it. And I went, oh, do I want to listen to Frank Luntz or not? But then one of the things he found in his focus group that was equally Republicans that voted for Trump and Democrats that voted for Biden is that the issue that they were all in common on was housing, and folks needing to find housing, secure housing. So one of the things, of course, seeing all of the video coming in from Ukraine. So here's Ukraine, which is a big farming country. The big thing that is of concern is the damage going on to all the crops in the fields that are, source of food for so many people. But when you see their cities, even the smaller ones, they build up, they don't build out. And so that's one of the things that I think we need to put more emphasis on, is to do more building up, bringing grocery stores close to those taller buildings and bringing other things that are needed. But since the cost of infrastructure between sewerage and water and electricity and intranet, as well as public transportation, it ends up being more effective if it's centralized. And so as I'm driving around downtown Salem and seeing big open spaces with chain link fences around them that's not being built on yet, or like the old Statement Journal building, to actually build in those places, but are there any, and in fact, if someone once told me that there's a height restriction in Salem because you can't build anything that would block the view of the Golden Pioneer. And I don't know if that's
Yeah.
true or not.
I'm not sure, but Judy had her hand up. Joyce, I'm going to do that for years and years. Joyce had her hand up. Sorry, is it related to this question too? And I'll happy.
No, actually, it's just a matter of we're running out of time, and I just wanted you to have the opportunity to close up and say
Okay.
the things you wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Then I'm going to pop back to Marianne and say, yes, I've heard that too about the height restriction, and also related to the Methodist church's steeple as well. So downtown. I don't know. I need to find out. We'll ask our mayor nominee, Chris Hoy. Thanks, Joyce. So Bernie, to wrap up with my closing statement, I'd just like to finish with my opening statement, which kind of circles back around and things that I want to continue to do. As I mentioned, the work on healthcare, making healthcare more affordable and protecting reproductive choice and expanding the healthcare workforce. But the place where I stopped, but it fits perfectly with this question, is I want to continue to work towards making more affordable housing available, as well as supportive services for those who are unhoused. I was really happy to be able to help secure $7.5 million for a navigation center in Salem to assist those needing housing. It'll be on 23rd over by the airport, hopefully opening in December, along with funding for several other housing programs for homeless youth and veterans, women leaving domestic violence, those affected by the wildfires, that hotel over in Hawthorne and others. We'll continue to work on climate action through the Natural Resources and Wildfire Recovery Committee, addressing needs related to water use and sound forest management to prevent the catastrophic fires which threaten lives and homes just here in Salem, as you know, 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. I will continue to support our students and teachers in public schools. I was proud to vote for an historic investment of $9.4 billion for K through 12 schools, and was able to designate funding for 300 students who were bilingual education majors at Western Oregon University, and additional ARPA funds for the Willamette Career Center in Salem. I'm working with Representative Evans to help provide more resources to our Oregon State Police for health and wellness, including bridge health care upon their retirement after 20 years, and will continue to support sensible gun laws like universal background checks and safe storage to keep our families and schools and first responders safe. I'm out every day in this district, and I look forward to continuing to serve this district and our state in the coming years. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Deb. We're so happy to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much. And with that, we'll let you go, and I'll see you next week. So.